Hoe die camera.
Je mic is nog af.
Ja, dat is aan. You forgot your shoe. Cinderella. Cinderella.
Wat?
Cinderella.
Ja, maar dat vind ik niet jouw zelf in.
Good morning and welcome to the Morning Mix King Elegant with Cinderella. We also checked out Cool Under Pressure featuring Mavis Braga and St. Visions with Bangaman and PDK with Sakane also featuring the Black Box Crew. Good morning, Maria.
Good morning.
How's you this morning?
Can't complain.
Listen, how's the weekend?
Good.
We last saw you on Thursday, right?
Yes.
You look like how like I feel. You look like you're not really.
No, I don't know. Yeah, no. Why is it? I feel like lockdown should be. I don't know. Like my skin should be clear, my body should be banging, but it's like everything is going left.
Like what's going wrong?
Yo, I don't know, hey.
Maybe we can.
Like I don't think my system likes this
Just
lockdown.
the whole lockdown issue.
Yeah, because it's just like I'm having outbreaks. I'm like my body is just growing in places it shouldn't grow. Like, it's not a fun time. I'll tell you now.
Well, today is day what? Day 20.
Some people are probably
Nice, day 24 in lockdown. I'm continuing from the previous 21 days.
well, at least somebody's keeping calm.
Yeah. So good morning to you guys who are joining the live stream. It's a pleasure to have you guys on board this morning. I hope you've been staying safe, you've been staying at home, and of course keeping your social distance from others. Anyway, just a quick update on the coronavirus virus cases in Namibia.
Yeah, we are still on 16 confirmed cases. Currently on 6 recoveries.
Yeah.
So that means 10 active.
You've got 10 active.
0 deaths.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
So far so good. We haven't recorded a new case in about 2 weeks now, so
Yeah, a little over 2 weeks.
yeah, a little over 2 weeks. So you know, that's good news. We will of course keep monitoring the situation and see how it goes. All right. This weekend there was a whole up the border up north.
Yeah, boy, yes. Yes.
Always wait, there's a border up there?
You see, I think this is what those of us in the know were saying. Is like a lot of people are complaining, like, why open the border? But you do realize that it's just the physical door that you opened,
Yeah.
you know, where there's a control check.
Yeah.
Because even with that door closed,
They're still crossing.
people are still crossing.
Yeah.
It's not a difficult border to cross.
So, I haven't been the situation in Angola, but
Look, there's always a risk, but here's the thing. Angola's coronavirus has, for the most part, been contained to, or been, I don't want to say confined or even contained.
close the door. Yeah.
Wow. We're doing that now.
The noises was getting to me, yeah. In any case.
The cases in Angola have been, for the most part, in the cities.
Yeah.
So Luanda, Benguela, those areas, like the big cities, the major cities. And as far as I'm concerned, they're not. It's like how coronavirus is, like Erongo and Komasa are affected, but
Yeah.
further north we haven't reported any cases.
Any
So
cases,
in Angola,
yeah.
further south, which is then what's bordering with Namibia,
Yeah.
the Onjivas and areas, those areas, the Kunene province,
Yeah.
I don't think has reported any cases.
Any cases, no.
But then again, you know, some things go unreported. But what I'm saying is, if there aren't any cases in the north and there aren't any cases in Kunene, then there's less concern. I think there would be more concern if the towns or the regions that are bordering us were the ones with high cases. then
it will be a problem to be opening.
Then it would be a problem. I guess it's always a problem to be opening anything during this time, but at the same time, I really understand, unlike most people, I really understand our history and allegiances and alliances with Angola. I just do.
Yeah.
They were the one country that really stood by us when we needed.
During our liberation struggle.
Yes.
I mean, but I still don't. I mean, if we're going to close the borders, right? I understand it's a low risk area up north, and of course you have historically you have Namibian families whose homesteads are on the other side of the border. I mean, we all know before the border was basically declared, a part of southern Angola was also sort of part of Ovamboland. So there are people living on both sides of the border, and maybe there's going to be some or other movement. But I mean, it's an extraordinary situation.
Yeah, I understand. But what I'm saying is, I think also in people's mind, when they hear the border is open, they're thinking free movement.
Yeah.
We're still on lockdown. Angola is also on lockdown.
Yeah.
So the border has been open to allow for people that, for medical services, for example, to be able to access it. We know we're in a better position than they are.
Then Angola.
But also, it's very clear, we've said there's a directive that our quarantine facilities for now are only for Namibians. So even, it's not like Angolan can come to Namibia to access a self-quarantine facility or an isolation center.
Yeah.
That's strictly for Namibians. In Ohangwena, the Informanté has reported that there were some, I can't remember the exact number, that were in self-quarantine. I think it was 12 and 2 were released, and there were 14 and 2 were released, and we're down on 12, just for observation. But again, that is strictly for Namibians, so it's not like Angolans are coming to access that. I think Angolans is for other medical related,
other medical stuff,
but there would also, obviously, there are requirements which you would have to have the necessary documents to go past the border. There is a control check. They do, and sometimes I think there's a part of me that believes it was opened so that they can have some control. Because if it's closed and people are jumping borders, then you really have zero.
Then there's no control
there's
there.
Absolutely none.
And we know, it's not new. It's commonplace for people to cross the border to come access either some retail shops and also medical facilities here.
Yes.
So in that sense, maybe you can understand, but it's still a bit confusing to many people.
No, it is still concerning.
Concerning, yes, that's the word. All right. The social income grant is another thing that has been kicking up dust. I don't know whether you guys. Okay, I actually have like where's that document? I had a document here that lists most of the questions, answers most of the questions, I guess, that many people have with regards to this social grant. Let me just read one or two paragraphs for you before we sort of dive into it. Right? The emergency income grant, right? It is a once-off payment of 750 Namibian dollars in cash per qualifying person on the basis of having lost income or experienced difficult circumstances during the COVID-19 lockdown periods. Right? The grant seeks to provide interim relief for the most vulnerable in our society at household level in all regions of the country. As for who qualifies, all Namibians aged 18 to 59 years, employed or self-employed in the informal sector and have lost income during the lockdown period. Right, all the unemployed persons in this age bracket also qualify for the grant. All right, employed persons and persons who receive other state grants do not qualify for the EIG grant. So how does one apply? I'm sure you guys have already figured that out. You SMS the letters EIG to 141222 from any MTC number. You read the disclaimer carefully, and if you qualify and agree, proceed using the easy-to-follow prompts and screens that will display during the application process. Now, I've sort of bumped into a lot of people who have confirmed that they did receive their 750, and equally I've bumped into a bunch of people who have also been, sort of complaining that they're waiting for their 750.
Yeah, there was a video that was circulating over the weekend of a queue as long as a block. People, I think it's the only people queuing up at the only ATM in that area.
Yeah.
And it's a long queue.
Actually,
And there's no social distance. But it's a long queue because the person that's making the video is driving. And there's people on the side of the road queuing up all the way into the complex where the
ATM would
is.
be. Yes.
And I just thought, Mike, I think we've created another problem.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Because I was thinking even come month end, like in a week and a half or so, it's going to be the same problem when it comes to ATMs and especially supermarkets
And
again.
then pension payout, how is that working?
Yes. How did it work for the month of April? I know they normally get their pay around the 7th or so.
Yeah, but most get it through NAMPOST.
Yeah.
So I don't want to know how the queues there.
NAMPOST were. Oh my goodness. All right. So if you guys have any questions with regards to the social income grant, maybe you can ask and we can try and answer them, since you have been forcing us to talk about it. Yeah, I had to go dig up some information, but it brings to the fore, I guess, an interesting conversation, at least in my head, because the grant is a form of socialism. All right, and we have seen, especially during this COVID-19 lockdown, a lot of even capitalists have, done a lot of socialist-like things, just to try and make sure that we take care of everybody during this time. So it kind of begs the question, because capitalism has been unstable, for lack of a better word, for quite some time now. And even major economies like the US are sort of trying to push towards socialism. I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen people like Bernie Sanders and so on and so forth. So, do you think a socialist socialism would work, basically? Let's say democratic socialism for a country like Namibia. Personally.
Well, firstly, Namibia is a mixed economy, right?
Yes.
All right, so we have capitalism and socialism. But I think for the most part, we've been largely a capitalist system,
yes,
because our social safety nets are not what they should be, I guess. I hate capitalism, so I'm really the worst person to ask this. I really do.
Yeah.
I don't like an unequal society, which is what I think capitalism is. It's like where those that have a lot, and those that have nothing really have absolutely nothing. And I think we have to find a way to balance the scales. Now, to ask this question is then to look at the world and look at the prime examples, like what countries are doing well and what type of systems are in place.
Do they
use? You look at largely Scandinavian countries, right? Your Denmark, your Sweden, and your Finland. Socialist
utopia.
Yes, but they're not completely socialist either.
Exactly.
So maybe that is the thing. Maybe it should. All we need to do is scale the socialism up a little bit and bring the capitalism a little bit down, but not to completely abolish capitalism. Obviously, we need investors. We need people to bring money into the economy, and create jobs and whatever. And I don't think the Namibian government has the capacity to do it without. So, yes, I think a good balance to it, but we do what we definitely need to do is improve on our safety nets.
Our safety nets, social safety nets.
Our social safety nets. There are countries. I think during Gaddafi's time, Libya was a prime example of just how you can do it.
Yes.
That was the golden child of Africa. Said that it's different today. That it's very different today. But yes, Libya was doing a very good job of that. And I think moving forward, especially with COVID-19 and what's happening, I think it is forcing a lot of governments to kind of look at themselves and say, well, did we really do enough for the citizens?
Yeah.
And the answer is no.
Because like capitalism, obviously it will sort of widen that gap between the really rich and the really poor.
Yeah, the inequality gap.
Yes. I mean, for instance, right now, the about 80 to 100 richest people in the world own more wealth than the bottom half of the world population,
Yeah.
about 3.5 billion people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is amazing, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, capitalism has its flaws, but it is also not without merit, because it does really encourage innovation. It encourages entrepreneurship. Obviously,
Yeah.
human beings, by nature, we have a lot of selfish bones in our body. So when you are incentivized to do some, I mean, if you're going to be rewarded for doing more than the other person, it kind of encourages you to want to do more.
Yeah,
But-
but what does that even really mean? You see, that I think that's where socialists struggle with that question. What is doing more? Do you understand? Like, it's like the guy that comes, let's say, to the office and sweeps the floor is providing a very essential service.
Yes.
But how we view them is like they're doing less than, and therefore earning less than, because we see their role and responsibility as miniature in comparison to, let's say, somebody in top management
Yeah, we equate
that is pulling figures.
we
for
equate
example.
price to value.
Yes.
So, like, I mean, people like, let's say, for instance, if I make 20,000 a month and you make 40,000 a month, for instance, we equate that to being that's the value I'm bringing to the company.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
20,000, and maybe the value you're bringing is the 40,000. But then, in truth, people don't really get paid, especially in a capitalist system. You don't get paid what you deserve per se, but you get paid what you have the power to negotiate.
Yes. Well, and we know this is where women then become very
Yes.
disadvantaged. We
Very-
don't know how to
very much, yes.
negotiate, and we don't know our value. And then a lot of times it's also the desperation to get the job. So
Yes.
you will accept anything.
Because the corporations are becoming more and more powerful, which means they force you to take whatever. I mean, you take or you leave.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
becomes
exactly.
that kind of
There's lots
situation.
of people
Yeah.
by the door waiting for that opportunity. So if you're not gonna take the peanuts I'm giving you, essentially next.
I'll
let's-
give it to the next
Yeah.
person.
Then you
Yes.
find you see countries like Cuba, where they really, whether you're a medical doctor or you're working as a shop teller, what the message is that you're both doing a very important job,
Exactly.
and one is not more important than
Then
the
the
other.
other, yeah.
So I like that message. It is a very important, because what has COVID-19 in fact taught us? It has taught us that the people in the front line, the people working in the shops,
Yes.
the people doing the deliveries, what do you call it,
Delivered-
post office
Yeah.
deliveries,
Yes.
the health workers, your transport drivers, those guys have now become the most important people, the
Yes.
essential services.
They are the essential services
Yeah.
at this point in time. And these are professions that normally we overlook.
Yeah, actually look down on.
Yeah.
Apart from the medical staff, who's always had good standing. Of
Even,
how
even with the medical staff, you know, we tend to
The nurses,
revere
yes.
the doctors, but then the
yes,
nurses,
the nurses,
are like,
yes. And
yeah.
now the nurses seem to be doing more. That's very correct.
Yes, that is very true. Yeah, so but then the socialist problem, or the problem of the socialism, I guess, you know what, many people actually get sort of caught up in definitions, because if you read up or if you listen to a lot of socialists, many of them don't even agree on what socialism really is.
It's like feminism.
Yes, but all of them do agree that capitalism is not working, and
Yeah.
we need a change. That at least
Yeah.
is the one thing that everybody seems to be agreeing upon. But like you were saying, Namibia is a mixed economy, and I think the best thing would just be for us to strengthen sort of our socialist policies. I mean, we have things like social security, that is socialism at
But
its
what
core.
is, for example, Social Security doing at a time like this?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's there, but,
But
is
it's
it
not-
r-
but it's not
it's
valuable.
really not that
Yeah.
valuable. It's not valuable when it needs to be. Like right now, I haven't the social security should be the loudest. They should be front news every day, telling the masses what, because they've been taking our money. That's a guarantee. They've been taking our money.
Yes.
But now they're kind of quiet. So it's like, what have I been paying for if not for a time like this? This is like I've been paying for exactly for times when like a COVID-19.
Yes, when we have a situation like this,
Yes.
there is a social protection
Yes.
for everybody to make
Yes.
sure that everybody maintains a certain standard of living.
Yes, exactly.
And not let people fall by the wayside.
Yes.
But yeah, unfortunately, they are not as vocal as we would like them to be.
Oh, vocal at all. How
Yeah.
about that?
I was trying to be nice. Let me read a few comments for this morning. Jerry Orr, right? Sort of plugging construction workers and subcontractors, I guess, as important workers. Bendeka Yalshak Yamakwa Yakapuka.
Oh, wow. Guys, Facebook names.
What's the subject of discussion? It's like, the general political policies or economic policies in the country. Do you think we should strengthen our capitalist systems, encourage entrepreneurs to try and create more, of course, at the end of the day, for their own benefit, or we should focus more on socialist policies that encourages the collective good and everybody sharing sort of in the resources and basically whatever it is that the country is producing as a whole. Anyway, if you have something to add to the discussion, you can let us know in the comments. Barnabas Kazali ya Amushila. People that were not working, they were depending on us. Now you give them 750 and end up quite without buying while there is no food because I am not working and they are still waiting for me.
Or saying people that now with the 750 should be helping out, but they're not. They're still sitting with the money in the pocket and waiting for the usual breadwinners to supply.
To supply, yes.
Or to come through. But you see this sorry to talk about the 750 just briefly. That I actually realized that 750 has made a huge difference to a lot of households, because if, for example, just imagine there's a household of 10 people that all qualified. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but 10 people would be 7,500. That's money that can go a long way to sustain that household.
Of course.
So yeah, I mean, really, really great initiative.
At the end of the day, the money is not just going to come and do nothing. It's going to, even in my household, I know I wouldn't have to stress about, let's say, for instance, fuel or taxi money for a little while because of something like that, 750. So I hope you guys are coming right with your applications. Gaitan, it's ironic how one is at risk of getting sick while standing in a queue to get an amount that won't save them if ever they contracted the disease.
Yeah.
That is interesting. That's why we are sort of asking this capitalism versus socialism question this morning, because if our socialist systems were strong enough, our healthcare would probably be of a better quality. Because generally that's what things like those are, like healthcare for everyone. Our state hospitals, things like our road networks, like for instance the fire brigade and the police and stuff like that. Those are all socialist ideas. Imagine a country in which the fire brigade is owned by some or other businessman. Let's say Chris.
Chris asking where are our masks?
Where are our
but
masks?
If we have them, nobody can hear us.
If we put on the mask, then we're just mumbling here on the air. But anyway, so like I was saying, if we had stronger, I guess, socialists, like Libya's Gaddafi's Libya, like you mentioned earlier on. Their health systems were so strong, and they were free.
Health system was free.
Education.
School, education was free all the way to university.
Yes.
And Libya, by the way, produced some of the finest medical doctors in the world.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and that is not something that is impossible for a country like Namibia to achieve with the population that we have.
in not just population, resources.
Yes, and resources.
African countries are the most resourceful in the world. That's why everybody was scrambling for Africa. But we are. And the problem is we don't own our stuff. We don't own our mines. We don't own our resources. So that's why. But if everybody ran their stuff, and obviously the greed wasn't a problem, and if corruption wasn't, I mean, corruption's a global problem, but I'm saying for us it's a huge problem.
Greed is the fuel for capitalism.
You know, and if there wasn't this greed, Africa, and I think this is why a lot of people that like, especially Pan-Africanists, like that's the thing that upsets them the most. It's knowing that we are so capable just with our resources. If we had a united front, like if African countries loved each other and united front, and we just wanted to trade amongst ourselves, we would be okay.
We would be a very strong economy.
Yes, we would be the strongest continent.
Yes.
But here we are.
Yeah, divide and conquer, you know what it is.
Yeah.
Mustard Hardly, what about the people who were paying taxes when he or she was working and now not working for more than 3 months? I guess maybe there is some way that, are you now asking this in connection with the 750, the EIG? Because I'm sure maybe there should be some way that you can prove that you've been unemployed for the past 3 months or so. If you want to apply for the grant. Anyway, Sally Purita is saying, morning, some people's tax comes from business registration that's not even active at all, but still they regard the person as taxpayer. But meanwhile, the person is not working. How's this helping unemployed people, please? Now, if you're owning a business, then it's sort of you are self-employed, no?
No.
Yeah. But then that means you fall also under the bracket of I mean, they say the self-employed and the unemployed, no?
Yeah, no, it was, but lower income.
Yeah.
So
it also depends on what bracket you're falling in.
Yeah, what bracket you're in. Because it's like, they would say, for example, the street vendors, not necessarily SME. That's,
yeah.
they didn't use that word.
Yes.
Because if it's SME, I qualify as well.
Yes.
But
Me too.
you see? But that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about street vendors and those in the lower brackets.
Yeah, I mean, we did mention. I had a little bit of an issue with, picking only a few people, or picking only some people. But then I do understand, even though everybody is losing money, all of us are falling upon hard times. But there are those people who really have no way of lifting themselves out of the situation, and those are the ones that we should help, especially first.
Yeah, and the system is not perfect. There are obviously some people that have gone through the cracks, and that people that should be getting the money that aren't getting the money because of one or two reasons, like maybe they registered their small businesses like on social security or whatever. For example, I opened social security for my nanny, so she would have liked to get that money,
but now she can't.
But now she can't because she's registered. So there are people that, like I said, that should be getting it that aren't, but they're the minority. Let's be very clear.
I think the majority of the people who need the help are going to get it.
Yes.
Maybe not immediately, but eventually.
Yes.
The food parcels, of course, also being rolled out. I mean, we saw the issues with those last week.
Yes.
With all the videos circulating on social media. All right, let me read some more comments. Morning, guys. Does the lockdown only apply to ordinary citizens? Just asking. I get next to see me.
Is it no swapo?
Thompson Karox saying, I want to travel to the north from the south. To go do what, my brother? The country is not losing this much money. Our economy is not taking this much of a hit. Just so some of you guys can just move around and gallivant like you want. Let's just follow the rules. Let's follow the guidelines.
Play Bede Hayes.
Play Bede Hayes as a blip. Barnabas Kazali, what's going to happen to us that pay taxes and not getting our money? We won't get anything. You're paying taxes, but you don't get your money. I don't get. You don't get your money from where?
I don't know if people are saying that they should get a tax break, which I think you're asking for the impossible, because that's money you need to understand that we're losing money. We're losing
Yes.
at least 2 billion a week. The money from your taxes is what's keeping.
It's what keeps things going.
Is what's keeping
Yes.
things going.
You-
It's why we can buy food parcels.
Yes.
It's why we're able to give the grant of 750.
Yes.
It's why they put money aside to fight COVID-19, to buy equipment and stuff that's medical appliances that are necessary. It's from your tax money that stuff is coming from.
It's being paid. Yes.
Yes.
So if we give a tax holiday, that would essentially mean that government would be making almost no money for whatever the period of time, and they would still be required to provide the services that they do.
Yeah, guys, let's not ask for the impossible.
Yeah, I think that is a bit impossible. Epson Hoebeb, morning guys. This e-learning thing is a mess. Teachers are not prepared, so I'm giving my kids homeschool from exercise books. 30 years of independence, investments was really poor in some areas.
Yeah.
I was actually wondering how this was going to work. School is supposedly open today.
I will say, for example, and this is this is the capitalist system thing I hate, right?
Yeah.
My kids we've registered for Google Classroom. They all have accounts with the school with their not Gmail, at their schools,
Yeah.
spcnam.org. They
Yeah.
all have accounts. They log in with that. We get passwords. They gotta get their class, whatever their schoolwork.
Yeah.
Everything is done online, so there's nothing. Parents don't have to scan or do any of that.
And that, yeah.
It's not live. So they will get the work and they have 1 week to complete it. They can work at their pace. But you can see that it's a well-oiled machine. Like, yes, it's a new thing, but you can already see like the engagements, the interactions that we've been getting, the feedback we've been getting on the WhatsApp groups on how to go about it. The school is on point. Any questions, any problems, there's numbers for the technical support, for queries about a certain whatever. When the homework's up, we get notification. It's been posted. Go. If a kid is inactive, we're getting the name will be please mother of, let's say, Gabriel, just to alert you that your child has not logged in as required. So you can see it's a well-oiled machine is what I'm trying to say, but it's a private school. It's more well-resourced than
public schools.
Than public schools. So it's like it's a bittersweet moment. Like there's a side of me I'm happy that my kids will be learning, but like the reality that like this is a privilege is very daunting.
And many people are sitting and have no idea how they're gonna go by.
Have no laptop, have no internet, don't even have smartphone. This is the reality of most Namibians household.
I saw on one of the dailies this morning, on the front page, I saw like less than 2% of learners have access to these e-learning portals countrywide.
That's crazy. I mean, you look at it at even university level,
Yes.
right? I think NUST at those information centers, somebody from NUST, I think, I don't want to exaggerate, but it was something in the 20 maybe closer to 30%. I stand correct. It's in the 20s. Percentage of students that have no access to
the portals.
To the portals.
Yeah.
They had that access by going to the school library or the computer center or whatever.
Yes.
But these are people that generally get like student funding. So you expect a student when they're in university to have at the very least, a laptop. And then perhaps like internet, if they can afford it, at least the lowest package. But no, over 20% don't have that.
That's not the case.
And that's university. Now imagine on the school level. It's worse.
It's insane. It's just insane. Okay. It reminds me of our business accounting lecturer. He's like an Indian guy. I think my second year was his first year at Like when he was starting at the university. Remember that first day in class, he comes in and he stands, and it's those big lecture halls, man. It's like 300-400 people, and he stands and he looks, and at some point he's like, "Why aren't you guys taking out your laptops? I mean, we need to start class." And everybody just starts laughing.
Like what?
It's like,
what is a laptop?
We write in notepads, bro. There's ain't no laptops out there. It's like, no, like where I'm coming from, I'm used to, like, I don't even
It's
need to
India.
tell. Yeah. You know, as soon as you walk in, everybody's already got their machines out
Yes.
and they're ready to work.
Yeah.
Like, yo. Morning, you two. I missed you both from Estomich. Nisio Fine Tune Barlow. All right. I'll also tune into your live streams, my guy. Thanks for joining the show this morning. Adolf Lori Pamo Shikongo. I don't know why they even call it social security. They can just call it pregnancy and death security, because what social security is really there for them. Right. COVID-19 has exposed their uselessness.
Yeah.
Right. The breweries started selling Redler and Windhoek Light
I
apparently
was waiting for that.
as from today, because it is under 3%. The question is this: if a person drinks 10 Windhoek Lights, they won't get drunk because each was under 3%. Interestingly, the government banned Tombo without measuring if it is really above 3%. White alcohol is allowed, and these companies already have millions in their accounts, while our poor people that sell Tombo don't have anything. Not fair at all.
Yeah.
But like, are you? I'm just. Are you advocating? Are you like sort of?
No, he's this person. Who is it?
Dino Ramos.
Okay, what Dino Ramos is saying is it goes back again to the I want to say it white monopoly capital and the advantage they have. Okay, so you have a company that is allowed. First of all, there was a ban of liquor, alcohol, whatever you want to call it. Anything with alcohol banned, right? Now they've gone. The law says, well, what is a liquor? A liquor is essentially something with 3% and above. Your redless and your light beers are less than, so they should be able to trade them.
Yeah.
So now they're stocking up on shelves, but which will make them more money. This is Redland and the light beer, Windhoek Light or whatever, NBL. NBL has already been in operation because they also make water, water and your fruit trees and your whatever. So they've been making their money, just not off of the alcohol or the light beers. Now they're allowed to. But what this person is saying is it's a bit of an unfair advantage, because the people that actually need to be making that money is, for example, your traditional brew makers. Now, traditional brew is not tested.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could also have less than 3% and therefore qualify. But how it's already perceived is like it's an alcoholic drink. Police officers are not going to allow you to sell it.
Yes.
So there's still a ban there. So it's still an unfair advantage, because maybe the alcohol, the traditional brew, is in fact of a lower percentage, but it's not tested.
But the maybe for lack of a better word, the markets in which they sell these traditional brews are generally it's the kind of things that we are trying to avoid, those kind of gatherings that we are trying to avoid. Because I'm trying to think of any of the houses that I know that sell traditional alcohol, or tomboys we call it, where you could have people who come pick up their brew and then leave. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yes, and that is partly the problem. But what we are essentially saying is, then don't make any exceptions for anybody, because even with a low content alcohol, it's not an essential service. Let us be clear. Nobody should be drinking 2.6%, less than 3 or even 10%. Nobody should be taking alcohol during this time, or at least if you have it in your house, you already bought it, whatever. Nobody should be selling it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's essentially what it is, because it will weaken your system. Whatever small percentage, it will weaken your system, and you don't need that. So nobody should be selling anything with alcohol percentage levels, regardless of the number. But for you to kind of make an exception for some, and it's even the worst timing, because people have just received their grant. That's what concerns me. We know Namibians have a drinking problem.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people were like excited by the announcement that Redland Light, Windhoek Light will be sold. The excitement because we just love alcohol. Now people have just received a 750. You're making this announcement. So people have money currently. And I can guarantee you people are going to be stacking up. Using that 750 that could have gone to food, that could have gone to other essentials. Not other, because this is not even an essential.
Yeah.
That could have gone to essentials.
Yes.
Are going to be stocking up and buying this. And because it's a light beer, you're going to probably have to drink like 10 of them to kind of just get a
Feeling a vibe.
sense of a vibe, a mood, which is worse because then you spend more money.
It really is ironic. But like I mentioned earlier, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you have the power to negotiate. And
that's a capitalist system because
yes.
who comes to the table to negotiate?
In the capitalist world, the big corporations
Yes.
and the billionaires are the guys with the power.
By the way, South Africa has just banned completely, like cigarettes, alcohol, any alcohol. I like that. I mean, it's extreme, right? But look, we're evening this out.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. We're not selling. These are not essentials because for them it's like in South Africa they even wrap, like you go in a shop, anything that's not an essential is covered up. You can still go to the shop and buy your, like I said, baking pan. That's not an essential. You can
still buy luxuries.
You can still buy luxury. You can still go buy your bubble bath. And your perfume.
Yeah.
And it's like we're not checking our consumer behavior and our consumer spending, and we're not actually discouraging it either, which is a problem.
I think Namibians we are becoming a bit too relaxed especially because of the caseload we are sitting with. We are not reporting new cases, and we really didn't get overwhelming number of infections. So I think in the minds of many, they're becoming a bit comfortable with like, it doesn't seem like it's that serious. Maybe we can open up this, maybe we can open up that.
Yeah, but
that is the mistake that many other countries did ended them up where they ended up.
China is reporting its second second wave
of
infections.
Yes.
And this was just after opening up.
And by the way, you guys should remember, science cannot even tell us for sure whether if you get infected and you recover, whether you can get reinfected.
Yeah.
Or do you develop some form of immunity?
Yes. And then do you have a better chance of surviving it the second time or a worse chance?
Yes, exactly.
Well,
this is information that is unclear at the moment. So the best thing is just to do what we are doing now, play net biddy haze.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just go through the lockdown and we will rebuild this economy afterwards. Jerry, or Africa never needed the world needed Africa. We need to be more self-sustainable or self-sustained and stop relying on foreigners like China. It's really sad how Africans are being treated abroad.
Yes, I agree.
The whole issue that's happening in China. Jan Jane, I believe we should not be caught up in definitions, right? Let's debate SOE's existence, taxes, safety nets, what services government should provide for free. But let's debate every economic intervention separately on its own merit. The thing of capitalism versus socialism is old-fashioned, my 2 cents. It is I understand where you're coming from because that is the same issue. Like if you look around the world, right, there is no country in the world that is either truly socialist or communist or truly capitalist.
Usually a mixed economy.
It's a mixed economy.
It's just which one is more dominant.
Which one is more prevalent.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean with the history of our civilization, I guess, there are certain things that we have realized just need to be provided by government. Like for instance, we can't each build a piece of road that we're going to drive on. Some of these things, there has to be some central planning that sort of takes care of some of these things on behalf of all of us. The same with, like I was saying, with fire brigades, things like social security. So there is socialist elements to every economy, but then like Scandinavia, for instance.
The Scandinavian countries, yeah.
Yes, they are capitalist, yes, but they are almost welfare states, and they take care of it through high taxation.
Yeah, I was about to
especially
say
on
they're the
rich.
highest taxes in the world.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
over 50% of taxes.
And it might hurt, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
It does.
And I completely agree with you, Jan. Ilse Govasis, right, talking about health workers, at least the government can compensate them by not deducting tax for 1 or 2 months, or deduct half the amount. They are frontline and the one who risks their lives for us.
Guys, they're still receiving their salary, which is what they've been getting.
Yeah.
But we need to remember that there are people that aren't getting salaries, people that have been retrenched, people that need now help. You can't then say if I can't, me that's in a privilege that still gets, let's say, my 10,000 salary and that I pay 3,000. I don't know what it is. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It's around that. If I pay 10,000, if I'm getting my 10,000 salary and I pay my 3,000 taxes, that 3,000 I can't say I want to keep because I need it more than other. No, that 3,000 is going to a greater cause. So in fact, I think now is the time that those that can pay taxes should be paying taxes, not asking for a tax break, unless it is, like I said, asking for like rental breaks and those, but not a tax break.
And you see, like
I don't agree
the whole reason why the conversation of rent is it's capitalism. That's why we haven't had the conversation of rent breaks, because the capitalist owners of these apartment complexes are like, they're not thinking of giving you a break. So that
I know, and the banks are not thinking of giving them a break.
as well. So yeah, you know,
They're not making the rules here.
There's a domino effect, and some of them might even get like a mortgage break and still decide to charge you rent in one way or another.
So if they get a mortgage break and they charge me on set a problem,
So like if you don't want, you can move out.
and go away. It's nobody's even allowed to be moving houses right now.
You see, that's the problem. That's the problem with capitalism. It's for profit and for profit only. To hell with who suffers or how the
Yeah,
economy
but like I
or
said,
how
like
the environment suffers.
Yeah, but you find some countries that have, like I said, found a balance. Like in the States, you can't throw out a tenant
yes.
for not paying rent.
This is, the Americans have come up with forms of rental control,
Yeah.
of rent control.
Yes.
And that is something that our government just refuses to sort of
Look at.
engage in. And those high rental fees, ever increasing rental fees, and low benefits for most workers, sort of traps people in this perpetual debt cycle. And
Yep.
it's really something that we need to look at, because look at the situation where we are in now, where most people cannot even afford to buy food for themselves if they can't work.
Capitalism.
Yes, Raymond Basson. Neville's a replacement for Ogan. The Namibian breweries don't even take part to help the poor with food parcels. They are just here to make money from Namibians, and they are one of the big money-making companies in Namibia.
I will say this though, for NBL, which is ONL, it's one of the most progressive and companies that takes care of its staff.
Yes.
So I don't really like this. They're not doing anything. They actually do have a lot of social responsibilities.
Yeah.
We know that they sponsor a lot of events. The Namibian breweries. Come on, guys. You just think about all the major events that you see. Their branding is always there.
Right now, they are paying DJs to basically DJ from their houses, hosting these little
Yeah.
parties, and that is something that they don't have to do.
Jazz festival,
Yes.
even soccer matches. Think about just like really.
No, they
big-
do invest. They do invest in the
They
community.
really
That-
do a
that-
lot in
yeah,
terms
that
of
is a big show.
social corporate responsibilities is very high at ONL. So I don't like the idea of saying that they're not doing anything, and they do take care of their workers,
Of their staff.
of
yeah.
their staff. We know that very well.
Yeah. Covenda saying, sorry, brof, we owe China billions. So China is not up for debate, because lost net for China aid. Let's go pick a fight with somebody else, I guess. Kefia Thomas, shall we open our bar just to sell Windhoek Light and Redla? That is a question that somebody asked me over the weekend.
Yeah, or is it that we're just doing it for the bigger supermarkets?
Or where are we going to sell them? Now people will leave home to go buy this drink. Don't you think they will not pick up infections in the process? whoever came up with this decision needs to go to number 16. What's number 16?
Ward 16.
Oh, man. Desiree de Klerk, Dino Ramos doesn't make sense at all, which means breweries is more essential than clothing shops, even winter time. Lord have mercy on us.
And newborn clothes. People are still giving birth.
Yeah.
Coronavirus didn't stop that.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm reading the comments from the bottom up, so some of the things might not make sense until I get, because I see this was a reply to a comment that I'm probably going to get to still. Brewery is claiming back its donations, bruh. Makwa van Makwa, then they are supposed to allow local people to sell their brews as long as they set up measures. Example, a customer should come with his or her container and go drink at home.
Yeah, get your tombo and go.
Yeah.
I mean, since that's what we're saying, right? It sounds ridiculous, but since we're on this gravy train, like the generosity, yes, drink beer as long as it's low quantity, right?
Yeah.
Since we're on this gravy train, then allow everybody, right? Or just say no to everybody.
That would have been the smart thing. I don't get why they even decided to sort of open half a window.
And it's not difficult to justify with new regulations, because what you're saying is, what is an essential service or essential goods?
Yeah.
Anything with alcohol, and I'm not talking about your
Sanitizers.
sanitizers. I'm talking about
Please don't drink sanitizer,
yes.
guys.
Talking about the intake. Any beverage with alcohol, be it 1%, be it 0.03, has no business being sold right now.
Yeah.
Has no business being sold right now. And it's just sad, because it's like consumers don't have discipline. And it's government's responsibility as well to protect consumers against themselves at a time like this, when money is running short. So this is why I said it would be smart for stores to wrap up what isn't an essential item, so that you're not tempted to like go and buy. And it is tempting, especially when you're bored and there's a bit of money in your account, and you just went to the supermarket to buy bread, but then you see fresh roses in Checkers, and you're like, oh,
that's nice.
I haven't seen flowers in a while. They'll look lovely on my table, but that's $100 you didn't need to part with.
Yeah. And in all this time you are in the shop, there's like a queue waiting for you to finish so they can come into the shop.
Yeah.
And you're busy buying non-essential stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. Abiata MN. I see Swapo is immune to COVID-19, having a party while telling people to stay at home. That is ignorance at its highest.
Yeah, nah. Happy 60th birthday.
Ex-Alma next any. Don't worry, we'll pick on never list the Swapo correspondence. We'll pick on him when he's in the studio tomorrow. But that it's
no, it's sad. The people that have cancelled their weddings.
Yes.
There are people that could not bury their loved ones because of limitations for attendance. And then you just throw a party. And I don't care even if it's 10 people. The fact is, people left their houses to go to a gathering of a party. However else you want to look at this, it doesn't make sense.
You want
to go and cut cake.
Like, do they really want to tell us that this couldn't have been pushed out to, like, after the lockdown?
Or have a Zoom call and sing happy birthday with the members and call it a day. Like, there are kids people that have had to have birthdays at home with just their parents.
Exactly.
And their sibling if they have one.
Where you can't even go buy a cake for your kid.
Yes.
You might have to.
Or you go buy the ingredients and bake one.
Try and bake one at home. Exactly.
At home, yeah. It's nonsense. It really is.
Yeah. All right. Maria, I have heart issues. Therefore, my doctor said that I must drink red wines. Well, come with your doctor's prescription. Maybe they will be able to help you.
Show us the letter.
Raymond Basson, come on, guys. Corporate events by Namibian breweries whose beers or soft drinks they're selling, they are making their money back one way or another.
Of course. course, they're business.
It's not a social entrepreneurship day. It's
Yes.
still like it's a for-profit business.
And not only one of the biggest companies that's owned by like the richest family. Come on, of course.
It's a for-profit business, but they like you can see from the way they operate that they do understand that they have a responsibility to society.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well put.
Yes. Meme Sophia denied that it was not a party. I lost off him.
You know, Sopo is like used to like their party. Their idea of a party is like 1,000 people, 2,000, 10,000 people.
Yeah. That's a party for them.
That's a party for them. So when you say it's not a party, they can be like 20 people around. It's like it's not a party. You don't. This is Sopo. You don't understand.
Meja Ningwa, she's such an interesting character. I would actually love to interview her.
Yeah.
I don't know what about, but I would just love to have a conversation with her.
I knew her from the time she was governor of Musati. She's always been a very fiery woman. Yeah. So enjoy the rehab lockdown. Okay, I've read the majority of the comments. And it's our time. Look at that.
Yes, and I think like time really flew by today.
Yeah.
It feels like we just got into the studio.
It does, right?
All right, guys. Once again, we'd just like to thank you guys for your contributions this morning, big or small, to the show, and those of you that are just sitting there in silence watching. Thank you also for taking the time out and, of course, spending your data on the morning mix this morning.
I wanted to ask because sometimes I'll be listening to a radio and they're discussing something, and I'm cussing not cussing, but like. Under my breath because somebody says stuff that you don't agree with. You're like, nah, man. I wonder if people do that with us. Like, man, girl, just...
I'm pretty sure it's like, this guy, man.
This one.
What's going on? This guy's, man. This guy's make me
She's so ignorant. She's so ignorant. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah, I used to have that with I think the guy's name was Sexy Jimmy from Base FM back in the day.
Yeah.
Jesus, listening to Sexy Jimmy's show was one of those roller coaster rides. You are so angry, yet you don't want to switch your radio off. Like I want to hear what he has to say, but I get pissed off at whatever he has to say.
Yeah, but we try to be as informed.
Yeah, we do. And of course, if we are wrong, we're going to try and correct it.
Yes.
Which doesn't happen very often. Right? I think government officials are the owners of flats. Okay, no, let's not get back to the comments. That's how I'm clown again. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the Monday. Please stay home. Please stay safe. We're not losing money, so you can be walking around visiting your friends in Sekahuta. Just stay at home. Let's make sure that at least we don't get another extension after this extension. If we all follow the rules, that is the most likely outcome. If we don't, then there is a possibility that we're going to have to go a bit longer.
Yeah, so we can get back to making money.
Yeah.
Wonderful capitalism.
Wonderful capitalism. All right. We are here, man. Enjoy the rest of the day. Don't forget you can stream Informanté Radio on informanté.web.na, and you can also keep up to date with all the latest news in and around Namibia.
Here comes the night. We're gonna lose the light. Summer night, and that time is right for the night light.